Have you ever stopped to think about why those people who always try to please everyone end up being the most despised? Why is it that the higher you climb in life, the fewer true friends you have around you? There's something very wrong with what we've been taught about relationships, about loyalty, about love. They sold you a sugary lie: be good to everyone and everyone will be good to you. Nonsense, a blatant lie. And the worst part is that you believed it, I believed it, everyone believed it. We spent years, maybe decades, living in this rosy illusion that love conquers all, that kindness always wins, that if you are a good person, the universe conspires in your favor, until life slaps you in the face and you realize that friend who swore loyalty disappeared when you needed help. That family member you supported turned against you at the first opportunity. That colleague who smiled at you every day was talking behind your back the whole time. Then comes Machiavelli, that 16th century Italian whom most people know only as that Machiavellian and wicked guy, and he completely shatters that fantasy. He doesn't do it out of malice. He does it because he observed reality as it is, not as we would like it to be. And you know what he discovered? That you are loved until the day you become dangerous. While you are small, harmless, mediocre, everyone loves you. But the second you grow, conquer, stand out, that love transforms into something very different. It becomes envy disguised as concern. It becomes resentment masked as constructive criticism. It becomes pure hatred hidden behind false smiles. And here's the part nobody wants to admit. This is not the fault of bad people or envious people. It's simply human nature working exactly as it always has. In this text, you will discover brutal truths that will completely change the way you see relationships, power, and success. You will understand why the greats of history were hated, why having enemies is actually a sign of relevance, and why trying to be loved by everyone is the surest path to failure and mediocrity. More importantly, you will learn to use this knowledge to your advantage, to stop wasting energy seeking universal approval, and to finally play the game of life by the real rules, not the fairy tale rules you were taught. Prepare yourself, because what comes next will hurt, but it is precisely this pain that will set you free. If something inside you awakened while listening, don't ignore that feeling. This channel isn't about videos, it's about memories. Remember who you were before the fear, before the exhaustion, before the silence. Each new video here is a different reflection of your own soul, an invitation to understand what the world never taught you. The power you seek outside has always been within you. If you feel that this journey speaks to what lives silently within you, sign up now. Not to follow yet another creator, but to reconnect with something the world tried to make you forget. Because here, every word was made to heal, each reflection to awaken, and each video serves as a reminder. You are not alone on the path back to yourself. Click on subscribe and turn the algorithm into a daily reminder of who you really are. And if you're subscribed to the channel, we have a bonus in the first pinned comment. You wake up, go to work, post that photo on social media, receive likes, affectionate comments, warm hugs. Everyone seems to like you, right? There are smiles, there are compliments, there's that pat on the back that says, "You're amazing." And you live in this comfortable bubble, believing wholeheartedly that you've won the hearts of the people around you. But then comes Machiavelli, that old Florentine who doesn't mince words and asks an uncomfortable question. Is all this love real? Aren't we living in a well-constructed illusion where we confuse convenience with genuine affection? The truth is that most people live immersed in this fantasy, thinking they are truly loved, when in reality they are only serving the momentary interests of those around them. It's like believing that the dog loves you when, in fact, it only wants the food you're holding in your hand. Sounds harsh? Well, it's precisely this harshness that protects us from life's most brutal disappointments. Machiavelli wasn't interested in creating fairy tales. He wanted us to understand politics as guided by reality, not by romantic ideals that crumble at the first sign of crisis. The true nature of humanity, the one few dare to confront, is fundamentally driven by self-interest. No matter how many times we hear beautiful speeches about altruism, kindness, and compassion, deep down in the heart of every person, there's a voice whispering, "What do I get out of this?" And we're not just talking about movie villains or those unscrupulous businessmen who appear in the newspapers. No, we're talking about everyone. Your best friend, your partner, your family, that friendly colleague at work. All of them, without exception, make silent calculations about what you represent in their lives. As long as you add value, as long as you make them feel good, as long as your presence brings more benefits than costs, the love remains. But observe what happens when you stop being useful, when you stop feeding someone else's ego, or when you simply can no longer offer what you once did. Love evaporates like water under the desert sun. And what remains? A cold indifference, or worse still, a deep resentment that had been merely dormant, waiting for the right moment to awaken. This is the veil that Machiavelli rips from our faces without pity or mercy. He does not do this out of cruelty, but out of true compassion, the kind that prefers painful truth to comforting lies. Love, in the idealized form we've been taught, is a mask people wear as long as it suits them. Loyalty. Another fantasy that lasts precisely until better opportunities or greater threats arise. The only truly stable feeling in human nature is hatred. This one has deep and persistent roots. Why? Because hatred is born from envy, fear, constant comparison, feelings that don't depend on whether you remain useful or agreeable. You can stop helping someone and love disappears, but your mere successful existence is enough to keep hatred burning. It's an uncomfortable truth, undoubtedly, but it's the only one that withstands the test of time and circumstances. When you understand this, when you truly internalize this lesson, something fundamental changes in how you navigate the world. You stop being naive, stop expecting eternal gratitude, stop believing in empty promises. And then, finally, you start playing the game of life with the real cards you have in your hand, not with the imaginary cards you wish you had. Now imagine you've finally achieved what you've always wanted. A promotion, a booming business, a physique that's become a benchmark in the gym, or simply the ability to live well while others struggle to survive. You celebrate, post on social media, share your achievement with those close to you. And what do you receive? Applause, hugs, those effusive congratulations that seem sincere. But pay attention to the gleam in the eyes of those congratulating you. There's something there that doesn't quite fit, something that seems out of place between the smile and the gaze. It's as if two conversations are happening simultaneously, the one coming from their mouths, full of beautiful words, and the one happening in the silence of their thoughts, where your victory is processed as a personal defeat. Machiavelli perfectly understood this dynamic because he observed politics guided by reality, not by ideals. He knew that when you rise, conquer, and stand out, you automatically make others feel smaller, even unintentionally. It's an inevitable side effect of success. Your light casts a shadow on those around you. The stark truth is that applause is mostly empty. It's just social noise, a cultural obligation people fulfill because it would be too embarrassing not to. Inside, many of those who applaud you are grinding their teeth. Why? Because your excellence has become a personal offense. When you lose 20 kilos, the overweight person who knows you feels as if you're silently saying, "See, you just needed willpower." When you start that lucrative business, the colleague still stuck in the job they hate feels you've exposed their cowardice in not trying. Your strength literally exposes the weakness of others, and nobody likes having their weaknesses exposed, especially when they didn't choose that exposure. That's why silent hatred is born in these moments. It's not a declared, obvious, noisy hatred. It's that resentment that ferments slowly, that grows in vague comments, in malicious jokes, in that silence when you share a new victory. This phenomenon explains why so many friendships end when one of the parties grows significantly. Have you ever noticed how some friends simply disappear from your life after you reach a certain level? They stop replying to messages, make excuses not to go out, start being cold and distant. And you're confused, thinking, but I haven't changed. I'm still the same person. The problem is exactly that. You think you're still the same, but in their perception, you've become a walking reminder of what they failed to be. Each of your achievements is a cruel mirror reflecting the dreams they abandoned, the opportunities they let pass, the courage they never had. Machiavelli would say that you need to have virtù, that combination of skill, courage, and intelligence, but you also need to understand that fortune will put people in your path who will hate you precisely because you have what they don't. And here's the crucial point. It's no use trying to play small so as not to bother them. It's no use hiding your achievements, pretending you're not doing well, dimming your light so as not to overshadow anyone. Because in the end, they're going to hate you anyway, either for being successful or for pretending you're not, which only makes things worse because it adds falsehood to the equation. There's a law that no one teaches you in school, but that has governed human relations since the beginning of time. Every man desires more. No matter how much he already has, no matter how comfortable his life is, there's always something more he wants to achieve. More power, more status, more recognition, more money, more respect, more of everything. And this isn't a flaw, it isn't a sin, it isn't something we can morally condemn. It's simply real human nature functioning the way it always has. Machiavelli wasn't making a value judgment when he observed this. He was merely describing what he saw, like a scientist describing gravity. The problem begins when this natural desire clashes with the reality of inequality. Because while everyone wants more, not everyone gets it. And then, when you achieve what others don't, when you are richer, stronger, wiser, more successful, your mere existence becomes an affront. You don't need to do anything wrong. You don't need to humiliate anyone. You don't need to rub your achievements in anyone's face. Simply existing and thriving is enough to awaken the most primitive and visceral aspects of human nature. Envy is perhaps the most honest feeling that exists because it doesn't need rational justification. You don't just envy the distant millionaires who appear on TV. You mainly envy those who are close to you, who started from the same place as you, who had similar opportunities. It's the classmate who became a successful entrepreneur while you stayed in a mediocre job. It's the cousin who married someone incredible while you accumulate frustrating relationships. It's the neighbor who bought the car you dream of while you still take the bus. These people hurt you more because they prove that it was possible. And if it was possible for them, why wasn't it possible for you? This question corrodes you from the inside, generating a resentment that isn't easily cured. And the worst part, it doesn't matter if you're humble, generous, or kind. It doesn't matter if you try to help, offer advice, or share your strategies. Because what bothers them isn't your behavior, it's your position. It's the fact that you're above while they're below. Machiavelli understood that politics guided by reality needed to take this into account. You don't govern based on how people should be, but on how they actually are. This is the natural law of humanity that few dare to admit aloud. Hatred is the instinctive response to unequal outcomes. It doesn't matter if you deserved it or not, if you worked hard or were lucky, if you are virtuous or not. What matters is that you have it and they don't, and that's enough to create permanent tension. Think of the great empires of history, the revolutions, the civil wars. All of them were fueled not only by oppression, but by comparison. The poor don't revolt simply because they are poor. They revolt because they see the rich living well. The weak don't attack simply because they are weak. They attack because they see the strong dominating. It's always a matter of contrast, of comparison, of perceiving that there is a distance between where you are and where others are. And the greater that distance, the greater the accumulated resentment. You can try to argue that you worked harder, studied more, sacrificed more, and perhaps all of that is true. But for those on the bottom of inequality, these arguments sound like excuses, like narratives you created to justify your advantage. And here's the point Machiavelli constantly hammered home. It's no use expecting justice, gratitude, or recognition for your merits. The world doesn't work that way. People will hate you not because you're better, but precisely because of that. Let's do a quick exercise. Think of the names that have spanned centuries, those that everyone knows to this day. Caesar, who conquered Gaul and transformed Rome, was assassinated by his own allies in the Senate. Alexander the Great, who dominated the known world before the age of 30, faced constant conspiracies within his own army. Napoleon, the military genius who redefined Europe, died isolated on a remote island, betrayed and abandoned by those to whom he swore loyalty. And it doesn't stop there. Jesus Christ, the most influential figure in Western history, was crucified. Socrates, the father of philosophy, was forced to drink hemlock. Gandhi, a symbol of non-violence, was shot. Martin Luther King Jr., who dreamed of equality, was assassinated at the age of 39. Do you see the pattern? None of these men were hated for their weakness, mediocrity, or for going unnoticed. They were hated precisely for the greatness they carried, for the intense light that exposed the darkness and mediocrity of everyone around them. Machiavelli observed these cases and drew practical conclusions. If even they were hated, why on earth would you be spared? The question isn't whether you'll be hated or not. The question is when and by how many. Every man who rises above average automatically creates a legion of silent enemies. It could be the boss you surpassed in competence, the friend who fell behind while you advanced, the family member who saw you as an equal and now needs to look up to see you. Each of them carries a particular resentment. Each has their personal reasons for disliking who you've become. And mind you, we're not talking about inherently bad or evil people. We're talking about ordinary people who simply can't stand to see someone excelling because it stirs their own insecurities. Caesar wasn't killed by cruel and bloodthirsty tyrants. He was killed by respectable senators, by men who called themselves defenders of the Republic, by people who dined at his house. Brutus, one of the assassins, was practically his adopted son. If even the closest bonds didn't protect Caesar from hatred, what makes you think your relationships are any different? The truth is that in the minds of those who hate you, the end justifies the means. They will rationalize, justify, and create narratives about why it's right to harm you, sabotage you, or destroy you. Look at the prophets, the visionaries, those who tried to elevate humanity. Virtually all faced brutal persecution. Why? Because virtue is unsettling. Greatness is unsettling. Excellence is unsettling. When someone comes along and says, "You can be better," most people don't hear it as encouragement. They hear it as an accusation. It's as if you're saying you're mediocre and you need to change. And nobody likes to hear that, even if it's true, especially when it is true. Machiavelli would say it's better to be feared than loved for precisely this reason. Love depends on the convenience of others, but fear depends only on your power. The great figures of history understood this too late. Many of them tried to be loved, tried to win hearts, tried to prove their worth through kindness and generosity. And what did they gain? Betrayal, conspiracy, premature death. The lesson here is not that you should be cruel or evil, far from it. The lesson is that you need to stop expecting your greatness to be universally celebrated. It won't be, it never has been, and it never will be. Accept this as a natural law, as emotional gravity. The higher you climb, the stronger the wind that tries to knock you down. Here's a truth that hurts more than it should. People don't love you for who you are. They love you for what you do for them. Sounds cynical? Maybe. But try it yourself. Think of that friend who always turned to you when they needed something, a favor, advice, a ride, a professional contact, or simply someone to listen to their problems. While you were available, helpful, useful, the friendship flourished. You talked, laughed together, they praised you and told you how important you were. But then comes the twist. You go through a difficult time. You need help. You can no longer be the constant giver because now you're the one who needs to receive. And suddenly, that person simply disappears. Messages go unanswered, calls go straight to voicemail, invitations are refused with flimsy excuses. What happened? Simple. You stopped being useful. And when you stop adding value, love evaporates like mist under the morning sun. Machiavelli observed this in the courts of princes. Courtiers who swore eternal loyalty disappeared the moment the prince lost power. It wasn't malice. It was simply human nature following its natural course. Gratitude, that feeling we've been taught to value so much, is actually one of the most fragile and temporary feelings that exist. You can save someone's life today, and in 6 months that person will have completely forgotten what you did. Or worse, they will remember, but will feel discomfort, a moral debt that weighs them down. And instead of gratitude, they will harbor resentment for being in a position of emotional debtor. It's counterintuitive, but it's real. How many times have you generously helped someone only to later discover that the same person speaks ill of you behind your back? It happens all the time. Because new desires and fears swallow any previous loyalty. The person you helped get a job might betray you when a better opportunity arises that involves harming you. The relative you supported for years might turn against you when the inheritance is divided. The partner you supported during the crisis might kick you out of the company when it finally takes off. It's not that these people are necessarily evil. It's that true human nature is guided by self-interest. It always has been and always will be. And when interests shift, loyalty shifts along with them. Think about how many relationships in your life are genuinely selfless. How many people would be by your side if you lost everything tomorrow? If you lost your money, status, beauty, influence, how many would remain? The answer, in most cases, is frighteningly low. And we're not just talking about superficial relationships. We're talking about marriages that end when the money runs out, friendships that die when one side stops being fun or interesting, families that are destroyed by disputes over material possessions. People like you, as long as they gain something from being by your side. Whether it's status through association, material benefits, emotional support, entertainment, or simply the feeling of being superior to you. But observe what happens when you become independent, when you no longer need them, or when you can no longer give them what they expect. Love turns into indifference, and indifference often turns into hostility. Machiavelli would say that you need to understand this not to become bitter or paranoid, but to make decisions based on real human nature, not the idealized version we would like to exist. When you understand that love is conditional and self-serving in most cases, you stop making foolish sacrifices, hoping for eternal gratitude that will never come. Now let's talk about a game that happens every day, everywhere, and that most people don't realize they're playing. It's the game of strategic friendship, where compliments are the currency and closeness is always calculated. Have you ever noticed how certain people suddenly appear in your life when you're on the rise? That distant acquaintance who becomes your best friend, that colleague who never paid you any attention and now wants to have lunch with you every week, that relative who only showed up at Christmas and now calls you just to see how you are. The compliments start pouring in. I always knew you'd go far. You're amazing. I'm so proud of you. And everything seems so sincere, so genuine, so affectionate. But Machiavelli, that old observer of human dynamics, would tell you to look beyond the pretty words. Because often these compliments are just a smokescreen for envy, a socially acceptable way to get close to you not out of affection, but out of self-interest. They want access to your circle, your opportunities, your influence. And the most efficient way to gain that access is through well-measured flattery, compliments that inflate their ego and lower their guard. The truth is that friends, neighbors, and colleagues often celebrate in public what they criticize in private. You post an achievement on social media and receive dozens of likes and positive comments. But at that same moment, in WhatsApp groups you're not part of, in bar conversations you don't participate in, these same people are recounting your losses, highlighting your mistakes, minimizing your merits. Ah, but he was lucky. She only succeeded because she knew so-and-so. It looks like success, but there's debt behind it. Just wait, the mask will fall off soon. This type of comment is more common than you imagine. And it doesn't necessarily come from people you consider enemies. It comes from people who smile at you, who hug you, who say they admire you. Why? Because real human nature doesn't easily tolerate seeing someone close excelling without feeling a pang of discomfort. It's as if your victory were an inconvenient mirror, reflecting back the limitations of the observer. And since dealing with this discomfort is difficult, many choose the easier path, diminishing you in private conversations while maintaining an appearance of virtue in public. Here's the crucial point that Machiavelli constantly hammered home. Friendship is often just a tool for access, a tool for information, a tool for future betrayal. People strategically approach you to discover your secrets, your weaknesses, your plans. That friend who asks 1,000 questions about your business might just be curious, or they might be collecting data to copy your model, to sabotage you, or to use against you at the opportune moment. The colleague who always wants to know about your romantic relationships might be genuinely interested in your life, or they might be looking for ammunition to gossip, judge, or use against you when convenient. The partner who hugs you and calls you brother might truly consider you family, or they might just be keeping you around until it's more advantageous to discard you. And the most dangerous thing about all this is that, most of the time, even these people aren't fully aware of what they're doing. They don't wake up thinking, today I'm going to be fake. No. They simply follow their instincts, do what's best for them, protect their interests. And if that means wearing the mask of friendship, then so be it. The calculated use of force is not only physical or military, as Machiavelli taught princes. It is also emotional and social, practiced every day by ordinary people in their daily relationships. There's a cruel paradox in life that few people truly stop to analyze. Everything you desire to achieve, money, power, beauty, charisma, eloquence, are precisely the things that will turn you into a target. The more of these advantages you have, the more enemies you accumulate, even without doing anything against anyone. It's as if each of your achievements is a silent declaration of war against everyone who doesn't have the same. Think of the person who becomes rich. Suddenly, everyone has an opinion on how they should spend the money, whether they deserve it or not, whether they are being generous enough. Think of the beautiful person. They are automatically judged as superficial, vain, privileged, even if they are the most humble and hard-working creature in the world. Think of the charismatic leader. There's always someone who says they are manipulative, fake, that they are using people. Any advantage you possess, whether earned through sweat or received by luck, generates hatred. Not necessarily declared hatred, but that resentment that ferments slowly, that hides behind constructive criticism and sincere concerns. Machiavelli understood this profoundly. The powerful, the successful, the admired attract enemies in all spheres of life, without exception. Let's be practical here. Let's say you're a successful entrepreneur, owner of 3 well-profitable stores. You worked 10 years to get there, waking up early, going to bed late, taking risks your friends would never take. But when people look at you, they don't see the decade of effort. They only see the end result. Oh, he has 3 stores. He must be swimming in money. And along with that perception comes all sorts of absurd expectations. You should lend money without asking for it back. You should give jobs to everyone who asks. You should be more generous, more accessible, more humble. If you don't give in to these expectations, you become arrogant and stingy. If you give in too much, you become a sucker, and people take advantage even more. Now let's say you're a naturally beautiful woman. You didn't ask to be born this way. You didn't do anything wrong, but your mere presence already generates hostility. Other women treat you coldly, exclude you, spread rumors. Men reduce you to your appearance, assuming you lack depth, that you've achieved everything in life because of your beauty. You can't complain because, oh, what a difficult problem being too beautiful. But the resentment is real, constant, and exhausting. Here's the painful part. Power is a mirror that reflects back to people their own failures. When someone looks at you at the top, what they see isn't just you. They see everything they failed to be, all the opportunities they missed, all the courage they lacked. And that hurts. It hurts so much that the person needs to find a way to alleviate that pain, and the most common way is to diminish you. He only succeeded because he was lucky. She's only there because she's beautiful. They only rose because they did something unethical. These are narratives that people construct not to describe reality, but to protect their own ego. Because if they admitted that you were simply better, more dedicated, braver, more intelligent, that would be unbearable. Machiavelli would say that this is politics guided by reality. People don't act based on objective truth, but based on how that truth affects them emotionally. And when your successful existence negatively affects someone's ego, you automatically become an enemy, even without having done anything hostile. The constant adaptability that Machiavelli preached included understanding this. You cannot avoid generating resentment when you have advantages over others. The question is not whether you will generate it, but how you will deal with it without losing what you have gained. We now arrive at the question that spans centuries and remains more relevant than ever. Is it better to be loved or feared? Machiavelli posed this question not as an abstract philosophical exercise, but as a practical matter of survival. He observed princes, kings, leaders of all kinds. Some tried to be loved, others chose to be feared, and each choice had specific consequences. And his conclusion was surgical. Love is unstable, conditional, and disappears at the first crisis. You are loved as long as you are useful, as long as you please, as long as you don't demand anything difficult. But the moment you need to make unpopular decisions, the moment you need to cut benefits, fire someone, collect a debt, or simply say no, love evaporates. The same people who swore loyalty abandon you, criticize you, betray you. Why? Because the love they felt wasn't for you. It was for the benefits you provided. When the benefits end, the love ends too. It's a simple yet brutal equation that repeats itself in all spheres of life. Romantic relationships that end when the money runs out. Friendships that die when you can no longer be the fun friend. Professional loyalties that disappear when you stop being the boss who hands out favors. Fear, on the other hand, has a unique characteristic. It remains even when love has died. The employee who fears you doesn't need to like you to continue working properly. He works because he knows there are consequences if he doesn't. The debtor who fears you doesn't need to admire you to pay what he owes. He pays because he understands that not paying will be costly. The competitor who fears you doesn't need to respect you to leave you alone. He leaves you alone because he knows that attacking you would be too dangerous. Machiavelli understood that in politics guided by reality, you cannot depend on people's volatile feelings. You need something more solid, more reliable, and fear offers that reliability. However, and here is the crucial point that many people misinterpret, Machiavelli was not advocating blind tyranny or gratuitous cruelty. He was making a subtle but fundamental distinction. Fear without respect becomes vengeful hatred. Fear with respect sustains power. The difference between these two types of fear is what separates the effective leader from the tyrant who ends up assassinated. Let's consider practical examples. A father who hits his children for any reason, who constantly terrorizes them, who shows no affection or justice. This father generates fear, yes, but it's a fear mixed with deep hatred. And what happens when these children grow up and gain strength? They distance themselves completely, or, in extreme cases, seek revenge. Now think of a father who is firm, who sets clear limits, who punishes when necessary, but who is also fair, predictable, and demonstrates that his rules exist out of love, not sadism. This father also generates fear, the fear of disappointing him, of suffering consequences, but it's a fear tempered with respect. And this type of fear doesn't generate rebellion, it generates sustainable order. The same applies at work. The tyrannical boss who humiliates, who punishes arbitrarily, who creates an environment of pure terror. This boss will have employees who work trembling, but who are always looking for ways to sabotage him or leave at the first opportunity. But the firm boss, who demands results, who doesn't accept mediocrity, but who is fair in his demands and recognizes genuine effort. This boss has employees who fear him in the sense of not wanting to disappoint him, but who also respect him. And the combination of fear and respect is what Machiavelli considered ideal, better to be feared than loved, but never to be hated. Here's the great secret that separates enduring leaders from tyrants who end up shattered, the balance between fear and respect. Because you see, uncontrolled cruelty doesn't generate sustainable power. It generates despair, and despair generates suicidal courage. When you push too hard, when you take away all hope from people, when you put them in a position where they feel they have nothing left to lose, something dangerous happens. They stop being afraid. That's right. Fear only works when a person believes that obeying is better than resisting. But if you torture, humiliate, and destroy in such a way that life under your command becomes unbearable, people start to think, what difference does it make to die fighting or to die obeying? And when they reach that conclusion, you've lost. That's what happened to countless dictators throughout history. They thought they could rule solely by brute force, without any consideration for the consequences, and ended up assassinated, overthrown, or fleeing in the middle of the night. Machiavelli studied these cases and understood something fundamental. The wise ruler punishes firmly, but does not torture endlessly. He uses fear as a tool, not as an obsession. Think about practical everyday situations where this principle applies. You have an employee who isn't delivering results. What do? If you simply humiliate them in public, drastically cut their salary, and treat them like garbage, you might keep them on the job out of financial necessity, but now you have an internal enemy. Someone who will sabotage whenever possible, who will speak ill of the company, who will contaminate the environment. You generated fear, yes, but you also generated hatred, and hatred fuels betrayal. Now imagine you have a direct conversation. Establish clear expectations, give a formal warning, and make it obvious that either they improve or they will be fired. There is no public humiliation, no sadism, but there is undeniable firmness. You generated fear, the fear of losing their job, but without destroying the person's dignity. This type of approach generates respect along with fear because the person understands that the consequences are fair, not arbitrary. Machiavelli would say that this is politics guided by reality. You need to be tough enough to be taken seriously, but not so cruel as to turn everyone around you into potential murderers. Fear should be constant, but not unbearable. That's the formula. Constant means that people always know there are real consequences for their actions. If you establish a rule and never enforce it, it ceases to exist in practice. If you threaten consequences but never carry them out, people learn that your words are empty. But if you set clear boundaries and consistently maintain them, people learn to respect them. They fear crossing the line because they know you will act. However, this fear needs to be calculated, not chaotic. Not unbearable means that people still have hope for prosperity if they follow the rules. They still see a path where they can live well under your leadership. It's the difference between the boss who fires those who don't perform, calculated fear, and the boss who fires randomly to keep everyone on their toes. Unbearable fear that only generates instability. Machiavelli taught that the calculated use of force is an art. You need to know when to tighten, when to loosen, when to punish severely, and when to be merciful. And all this not out of random kindness, but out of cold strategy based on decisions about real human nature. There's a fantasy that many people carry into adulthood. The idea that it's possible to be loved by everyone. That if you're good enough, kind enough, helpful enough, balanced enough, you'll eventually win universal approval. But here's the stark truth that Machiavelli perceived by observing real human nature. It's impossible. Mathematically, logically, practically impossible. Why? Because people have opposing values, conflicting interests, and completely different perceptions of what is right and wrong. The virtuous man is automatically hated by the corrupt because his mere existence is a silent indictment of their way of life. If you are honest in an environment full of thieves, you are not admired, you are seen as a threat. If you refuse to participate in dubious schemes, you are not respected for your ethics. You are labeled a goody two-shoes or a saint. Similarly, the corrupt are hated by the virtuous. He who cheats, lies, and manipulates may even gain wealth and power, but he will be despised by all who value integrity. There is no middle ground that satisfies both sides. You will have to choose a side, and by choosing you will automatically become an enemy of the other. And it doesn't stop there. Every move you make in life generates opposition. When you excel professionally, mediocre people hate you. When you lose weight and get in shape, sedentary people hate you. When you build a solid relationship, lonely people hate you. When you save and invest wisely, impulsive spenders hate you. Growing, evolving, improving, all these positive actions automatically generate a group of people who will hate you for it. Why? Because your evolution exposes their stagnation. Your discipline exposes their lack of discipline. Your success exposes their failures. And since nobody likes to be confronted with their own flaws, the natural reaction is to antagonize whoever serves as an inconvenient mirror. Machiavelli understood that standing out necessarily means creating opposition. And if you try to please everyone, if you try to be a chameleon changing according to each group, do you know what happens? You end up despised by everyone. Because nobody respects someone who lacks a backbone, who changes their mind with every passing moment, who tries to be everything to everyone and ends up being nothing to anyone. Think about those people who are always asking, what will so-and-so think? Will so-and-so like it? How can I avoid displeasing anyone? These people are condemned to a mediocre and bitter life, because the more you try to please, the more you negate yourself, the more invisible you become. And in the end, even all that effort doesn't guarantee love. It only guarantees that you won't be taken seriously, People may even like you superficially, but they don't respect you, they don't admire you, they don't follow you. You become that likable but irrelevant person, pleasant but forgettable. Machiavelli would say that he who tries to please everyone ends up despised by everyone because he represents nothing, defends nothing, builds nothing meaningful. It's like trying to navigate a boat, wanting to please all the winds at the same time. You end up spinning in circles and never get anywhere. Virtù, that combination of strength, skill, and courage that Machiavelli valued so much, requires that you accept being hated by half the world while earning the respect of the other half. And even that other half won't love you unconditionally. They'll respect you as long as you're strong, useful, and relevant. Here's a perspective that will turn your head upside down. Having enemies isn't a sign of failure, it's a sign of influence. Think about it. Who doesn't have enemies? The irrelevant person, the one who never built anything, never stood out, never threatened anyone's status quo. The invisible man goes through life without creating waves because he doesn't have enough weight to move water. He doesn't bother anyone because he doesn't matter to anyone. His opinions change nothing. His actions affect nothing. His existence doesn't alter the balance of power anywhere. And that's why he lives in peace, but it's the peace of the cemetery, the peace of total insignificance. Machiavelli observed men of power and noticed a clear pattern. The more influential you become, the more enemies you accumulate. Not because you are malicious, but because your existence affects the lives of other people. When you make decisions that impact others, when you redistribute resources, when you change the game in any area, you automatically create winners and losers. And the losers become their enemies, even if their decision was fair, necessary, and beneficial to the majority. Let's consider concrete examples that anyone can understand. The entrepreneur who opens a better store with better prices and superior service is providing incredible service to customers, but is creating enemies among competitors who are losing market share. The demanding teacher who truly pushes for learning is producing better students, but is creating enemies among those who wanted to pass effortlessly. The community leader who fights local corruption is improving everyone's lives, but is creating mortal enemies among the corrupt who are losing their privileges. In each of these cases, having enemies is proof that you are making a difference, that you have a real impact on the world. It's proof that you matter, because consider this: nobody wastes energy hating someone who is irrelevant. Nobody conspires against someone who poses no threat. Nobody wastes time sabotaging someone who is already at the bottom. Hatred is the shadow that accompanies any real greatness. Where there is intense light, there are proportionally dark shadows, and the brighter your light, the darker and longer the shadows you cast. Machiavelli would say that you should even assess your relevance by the quality and quantity of your enemies. If your enemies are powerful, influential, and competent people, it means you've reached a level where you represent a real threat to them. This is praise disguised as hostility. When Jeff Bezos was criticized by small shopkeepers, he knew he was on the right track, because small shopkeepers don't waste time criticizing those who aren't affecting their business. When Elon Musk is attacked by traditional automakers, he knows he's changing the game, because billion-dollar companies don't spend resources fighting those who are irrelevant. When a writer starts receiving fierce criticism, it's often a sign that they've touched on uncomfortable truths, that they've challenged established beliefs. The end justifies the means in the minds of those who hate you. If you're threatening their position, they'll use every tool available to bring you down. And this, paradoxically, is confirmation that you're building something worthwhile. A man without enemies is, at best, ignored. At worst, he is forgotten even before he dies. But he who carries a collection of powerful enemies is writing his name in history, for better or for worse. We have now reached the final point of this journey through the most brutal and honest thoughts on human relationships. Hatred is inevitable for those who have strength, ambition, and vision. It's not a possibility. It's not something that might happen if you're unlucky. It's a mathematical certainty. If you truly grow, if you build something meaningful, if you stand out from the crowd, you will be hated. And here is the liberation that comes from this understanding. When you accept this as a natural law, you stop wasting energy trying to avoid the inevitable. You stop contorting yourself, trying to please people who will never truly approve of you. You stop diminishing yourself so as not to bother others. You stop apologizing for your own excellence. Machiavelli didn't write The Prince to teach rulers how to be loved. He wrote it to teach rulers how to survive and thrive in a world where hatred is constant. And the same lesson applies to anyone who wants to live a meaningful life. The wise person doesn't seek universal love, but understands, measures, and uses hatred to their advantage. They transform what could be weakness, being hated, into an indicator of strength. Using hate to your advantage means several practical things that completely change the game. First, you stop making decisions based on the fear of displeasing others. How many opportunities have you missed because you thought, oh, but so-and-so will be upset? How many bad relationships have you maintained because you didn't want to be the villain who ends them? How many deals have you missed out on because someone would be bothered? When you accept that you're going to be hated anyway, you free yourself from these invisible shackles. You start making decisions based on what's best for you, not on what will cause the least discomfort to others. Second, you begin to see hate as a barometer of relevance. When someone hates you, especially someone competent and powerful, you know you're on the right track. It's like a pilot using air resistance to know they're gaining speed. The more resistance, the faster you're going. Third, you learn to differentiate between hate that should be feared from powerful people who can truly harm you, and irrelevant hate from powerless people who just make noise. And this distinction is crucial because it's not worth losing sleep over the hatred of those who have no real power over your life. Being hated is proof that you matter, and that's perhaps the most liberating conclusion of all. The point isn't to avoid hatred, because that's impossible for any relevant person. The point is to master it, understand it, use it as a compass pointing to your true north. Machiavelli taught that constant adaptability is fundamental. You need to adjust your strategies as hatred manifests itself. You need to have your own loyal armies, in the modern sense, people who truly support you, resources you truly control, skills you truly possess. And you need to understand that decisions based on real human nature will always generate resistance. But this resistance is not a sign of error. It's a sign that you are shaking up the status quo, changing the balance of power, building something that transcends mediocrity. The man who dies without having been hated is the man who lived without having mattered. Do you want to be remembered as the pleasant person who never bothered anyone because they never did anything significant? Or do you want to be remembered as someone who truly built, changed, impacted, even if half the world hated you for it? The answer to this question defines not only how you will live, but the legacy you will leave behind when you are gone. So after everything you've read so far, the question remains, what are you going to do with this knowledge now? Are you going to continue living in fantasy, trying to please everyone, wasting your energy searching for a universal love that will never exist? Or are you finally going to wake up and accept reality as it is? Because look, you have two very clear choices in front of you. The first is to pretend you didn't read any of this. Go back to autopilot. Continue believing that if you're good enough, humble enough, helpful enough, one day everyone will love and respect you. Good luck with that. You'll need it. The second choice is harder, more painful at first, but infinitely more liberating. Accept that you will be hated, that this is inevitable, and use this truth as fuel to build something truly great. Stop apologizing for being excellent. Stop diminishing yourself so as not to bother others. Stop asking permission to shine. Here's a thought-provoking question for you. How many important decisions have you failed to make because you were afraid of what others would think? How many toxic relationships have you maintained because you didn't want to be seen as the villain? How many opportunities have you missed because you were more concerned with pleasing others than with growing? If you're honest with yourself, the answer will probably bother you. And it should. Because every time you chose the approval of others over your own growth, you betrayed yourself. Every time you made yourself small to avoid envy, you robbed the world of the full version of who you could be. And the worst part? Even with all that sacrifice, even completely negating yourself, you were still hated by someone. Because hatred doesn't depend on what you do, it depends on who you are and what you represent. So I'm going to ask you some direct questions, and I want you to answer them with brutal honesty. Are you living the life you truly want, or are you living the life others expect of you? Are you building something meaningful, or are you just avoiding conflict? Are you hated for the right reasons, for growing, for standing out, for threatening the mediocrity of others? Or are you despised for the wrong reasons, for being weak, inconsistent, and irrelevant? If the answers bother you, great. That discomfort is the first step toward real change. Machiavelli didn't write to make you feel good about yourself. He wrote to show you reality and give you the tools to navigate it efficiently. Now you have those tools. The question is, will you use them or will you let them rust while you continue living in illusion? Apply this knowledge starting today. Identify a decision you've been putting off for fear of displeasing someone and make that decision. Look at the people around you with fresh eyes. Who is truly on your side and who is just using you? Stop wasting energy trying to turn enemies into friends and instead strengthen your true alliances. Build your own loyal armies. In the modern sense, develop skills that no one can take away from you. Build resources that you truly control. Cultivate relationships based on mutual respect, not temporary convenience. And most importantly, accept that you will be hated, but ensure that you are hated for the right reasons, that you are hated because you are strong, not because you are weak, because you are relevant, not because you are annoying, because you build, not because you destroy. Your life will change the moment you stop seeking universal love and start seeking selective respect. The moment you understand that having powerful enemies is better than having no enemies at all. The moment you use the hatred of others as a barometer of your own relevance. So tell me, will you continue to be that pleasant but forgettable person, or will you finally become someone who truly matters, even if half the world hates you for it? The choice has always been yours. It always has been. And if you want to continue learning about these truths that no one dares to tell you, if you want to delve deeper into the teachings that separate the mediocre from the exceptional, then subscribe to the channel now and activate the notification bell. Because what you saw here is just the beginning. There's much more profound knowledge, much more inconvenient truth, much more practical wisdom waiting for you in the next videos. Don't be just another person who lets life pass them by while seeking approval. Be someone who builds a legacy while accepting hate as the price of greatness. See you in the next video.